Hello, and welcome to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. I am your host, Kathy Conrad. I've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for 5 years, and I love helping new RVers realize their RV dreams. This podcast is about RV education, resources, adventures, and the amazing people who love RVing. It is also about discovering the freedom RVers experience, the connection with nature we are all so grateful for, and how RVing enriches our lives. On this podcast, you can expect us to talk about all things RV, including the good stuff, the challenging stuff, and everything in between. So, join us weekly and enjoy the lineup of guests we have in store for you. This month, I'm offering a free masterclass on how RV education enriches your overall RV experience, how it can save you time and money, and also help you to protect your investment. RVs are expensive. It's important to know as much about your RV as possible. So join me in this masterclass to help you get off to a great start on your journey to becoming an RVer. Check the show notes below for upcoming dates and the links to register for the course. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a great guest today that I'm looking forward to chatting with. It's going to be a very interesting podcast. So I met Master Boon through business and marketing coaching program that we are both in. She lives in northern New Zealand, believe it or not. And Master Boon is an internationally renowned master of traditional Chinese feng shui. She is a traditional Chinese martial arts 7th Dan instructor, and she is an entrepreneur. Master Boon enriches people's lives by transforming their spaces into prosperous places for organizations and residences. She is also a true adventurer. You have to hear this lineup of things she's done. She has enjoyed traveling and working all over the world, and she's an avid hiker. She's hiked the Rockies, the Andes, the Himalayas, the jungles of Borneo, Europe's Alps. She's gone on African safari. She has explored mountain cultures of Western China and the Himalaya and followed the footsteps of Shackleton in Antarctica. She's been scuba diving in Southeast Asia, the Australian waters, and the Pacific Ocean. And most recently, Master Boon has taken up sailing with her husband. That's a lot of adventure. Master Boon, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today.
Thank you, Kathy, for the opportunity to present in your podcast and share my adventures with your listeners.
Thank you. They're going to love hearing from you. I just am, that's a lot of adventures, a lot of different types of adventures, from the scuba diving and hiking and martial arts. Very active woman. So, of course, this podcast is all things RV. Mm-hmm. And when we chatted through our coaching program, I thought, you may be on a sailboat that does not have wheels, but it's still your vessel for adventure. So you're just traveling in a little different mode than the rest of us RVers do. And so even though you don't have wheels on your RV, nonetheless, I think it is your vehicle for adventure. And tell us, what do you enjoy most about sailing?
Well, I love the fact it's called RV because I always think of it as recreational vessel. She's a sailing vessel.
Yes, I love
Ariel
it.
is the name. Well, what I love best about this is I'm propelled solely by the wind. It lets me connect deeply with nature, free from machinery. And I love outdoors, right from I was a kid that I could walk. I would forage around my parents' gardens for insects. So I'm an outdoors person. So it's really easy to add this to my list. It's a no-brainer. Yeah,
Wow.
I cherish the purity of
Yes.
the natural environment, exploring pristine landscapes, and venturing off the beaten track. And this allows me to do it.
Yes. Yes. And that beautiful ocean sense of the salt water and the wind blowing
Yeah.
in your face. That's the only time I like the wind. Because I have been on a sailboat before too. I don't like the wind unless I'm on a sailboat, and it's a totally different
It's-
experience. It is. So, what would you say is your most memorable sailing adventure, and what made it so special?
It would have to be the wild and pristine Mokohinau Islands. It's about 7 hours sail away. It's very exposed. We're pretty much once we get out of our estuary, it's 1.5 hours sail from our mooring. It's the wild Pacific Ocean, and then from there it's about 7 hours sail away. All right, so like head out. Okay,
Wow.
so they are very exposed, very remote, and rarely visited sanctuary for wildlife and diverse marine life. It's in the middle of nowhere. And so these islands are really rugged. They boast rugged cliffs. They have native forests and crystal clear waters. There's bird life and fish life like I've never seen before. And when we get this fish boils, it's like the whole ocean is boiling, and you can see the fish, and they're like that big on the surface because there's something much, much bigger. So it's the whole thing just, you know, it's wild and no human habitation. And they've been rid of pests. One of the problems, of course, with island habitats is introduction of rats and things like that. There's no mammals other than bats in New Zealand. All right. So a lot of devastation is due to introduce mammals like rats and weasels and things like that. So they cause massive, massive problems. So the Mokahi now has been rid of pests. And it's a sense of isolation makes me feel deeply connected to nature. And it offers a small escape, where nature reigns supreme. So we get to run about in our little inflatable around the rocky coast. And then we
Wow.
ride the surf through the sea arch windows, which is quite exhilarating. And
Wow.
once you get beyond that, you get into these enclosed, deserted, sandy beaches surrounded by towering cliffs. They're like a hidden lost world. It's just
Wow.
magical. It's truly magical. And the sea is crystal clear and blue. You can see the fish in the weeds underneath. It's just amazing. So yeah, that's our favorite.
So you're able to drop anchor and get closer.
Just restricted, very restricted because it's so wild. We really have to choose our conditions, and to really anchor it safely, we actually have to get through one narrow bay to get inside, and then that's peaceful. But
Ah,
you need to catch the right conditions, otherwise it's too rough to get in. Yeah.
and then how is it getting out? Can it be rough to get out as well, or is
Yes.
that a
Yeah,
little
it
easier?
is. So you just have to choose the right wind conditions, and it's basically just two bays, one more exposed than the other, and that's it, right? So you select your very very carefully, and you like to look ahead because it's quite a destination. After that, like 6 hours, if we have a good wind, otherwise it's longer by motoring. So you want to be able to make sure that it's not going to be a storm or gale or thing coming blowing up suddenly. Yeah, and it can blow up
Yeah.
quite suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a little bit scary. Wow.
Yeah.
So, that being said, of course, I mean, obviously, sailing takes a tremendous amount of skill. You're faced with so many different conditions than you are driving an RV on the road. You're faced with,
Mm.
I mean, sometimes we're affected by winds, and there's winds that we should not be towing or driving through with a big rig. But you've got the winds and currents and rocks, and yeah, there's no like highway for you to travel.
Oh, not much
That's
escape.
So that I can see where it would be could be very, very challenging. So tell me about what's the most challenging experience that you've been faced while sailing?
The most challenging one was like a trial by fire. It was my first serious trip with Kim. Prior to that was just a potter around the islands outside of the, around Auckland Harbour. But this one was 2 nights a day, so 3 days sail up north. And we encountered all sorts of things. We lost our wind indicator. We lost our auto helm capability. The auto helm allows us to steer unaided. We can set it for a, a direction or wind conditions. So it relieves you of the long journey. That failed just about within 1 hour getting out of our mooring in Auckland. Then suddenly we lost all helming all together as we're heading in between this rocky passage to get to our night's anchorage. So, and Kim had to, I've never seen him move so fast. He just jumped on and he dropped the sail. That's the only way we can stop the boat in this wind, right? Wind powered and without steerage. So, how quickly we managed to at least stop from the wind, but we were still propelled by the current. And he was also very organized, so he knew where his what's that helming thing. Uh, Memory escapes me, but there's this rod that he hooks onto the connection to the rudder that he can actually helm by hand. So he looks like a Viking, with this
Wow.
pole
So he's manually moving the rudder
manually
to steer.
steer.
Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
oh my
the
goodness.
boat into anchorage in the
Oh
night.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It was dark?
It was dark, yes. In the night.
Oh, man, that's like us RVers, we hate setting up our RVs in the night, so that's even worse. That takes it to a whole new level. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah, so that was quite an adventure, quite an adventure. Um, other time is with climate change, we're really experiencing this, and the wind just whipped up from 3 knots to 35 knots, and in miles, that's about 1.15 times 1.15, so 4 mile, like 4 miles per hour to like 40 miles per hour in 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Right? And we were sailing along really beautifully, and suddenly we're like on this keel, and it was taking us towards the sandbanks.
Oh,
So we had to act quite fast, yeah, to to re- bring down the sail so that we don't have so much power. Yeah. So yeah, those are the wind gusts of 60 knots that caused us to suddenly jibe 4 meter white crest that caused us to lose our tender because it just snapped the rope.
oh my goodness.
So
Yeah, I suppose that, yeah, things could really go wrong.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
there's no calling AAA to help you out.
Be really cool and collected. I think the whole thing with all this is right. Once you panic at the end, you're cool and
Yeah,
collected. You can always find. She's safe. She's an incredibly safe vessel. It's how we manage her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow. So tell me about, I'm sure you have seen some amazing marine life out there in
Yeah.
your sailing adventures. Tell us what you've seen.
Orcas were my highlight. Uh, that's the first time I've seen them in the wild, and their fins, they are actually quite menacing looking. Their fins, because I'm used to shark alerts, right? Because I scuba dive, and in
Yeah.
Australia, the white pointers are rife where I scuba dive. So generally very alert to these things. So I see this fin popping up, and then it keeps popping up, keeps popping up. So I wasn't expecting it at all. And I was like, oh my God, there's three of them. And they're so beautiful. How they rise up, and it's just so beautiful to watch. And then I saw them approaching this little dinghy of people around the coast. They were going right up against these. They were curious. I was thinking, I hope
Uh-huh.
they're not looking for a meal.
Yeah.
but apparently they have never been known to go for humans. So, yes, and of course, lots of bird life.
Mhm.
It's quite amazing where we are. It's not so much by land, because of course we have rats, and we're still trying to control and get rid of them. But those islands that are sanctuaries that we've managed to get rid of the rats and the other, the other mustelids, the birds are returning. So there are a lot of seabirds, and they're migratory. Some are endemic, and they're beautiful to watch. I love the way they fly. Right, there's different types, and I'm learning how to identify them. So tons of those, and of course, I learned how to fish, and I got my husband fishing. I love fishing. So I'm learning, what fishing, is in these waters. But of course, I've seen a hammerhead shark just we're sailing along in this mirror sea. It's so clear. I was just looking overboard and I saw this hammerhead shark, getting out of our way. Penguins bobbing along. There are some, at least 20 old penguins. They are quite endangered. And so it's quite a sight to see them. And oh yeah, the leopard seal. The leopard seal thought our rubber dinghy was its mate, so
Oh,
punctured
no.
it.
No.
Yes. And there's a couple of them that has discovered that marinas are great places for catching fish. So they've made it their habitat, and they just move from one marina to the next until they exhaust the fish and then they come down. Right? So you see them lying
Hmm.
on the pontoon. And one night we had this guy, because Kim used to live aboard, and one of the live aboard guys, he dresses up. Are they called transsexual? Trans whatever. They dress up as men that dress up as women, right?
Uh-huh.
He
Uh-huh.
was coming
Oh
home
my
from a party a bit drunk, and there was this leopard seal. We saw it all on camera, security camera. So this leopard was on his pontoon, draped across, that he had to get to his boat. So he lifted up his skirt and gingerly
oh
straddled
my god. He had to straddle the seal to get in.
straddled the seal. Yeah. So there's some
So
interesting.
did the seal take off or did it just stay there?
Didn't wake up.
Was asleep.
It was asleep. It was asleep. Thank
Wow.
goodness. Didn't wake it up. Yes.
They could be aggressive if they wanted to be, I'm sure.
They are
Yeah.
very aggressive. They are the polar bears of the South.
Oh, that I
They
did
hunt
not
other
know.
seals.
Oh, really?
Yes. They're huge. They're massive. Yeah.
So are in relationship to like a walrus, you know what a walrus is with the big
Yes.
are they bigger
Eh,
than that or that size?
No, they're not as fat, but they're probably quite about the same length, a little
Mhm.
shorter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I don't think I've ever seen one. I've seen lots of
uh,
regular seals, but no.
yeah. They've got a head looks like a snake because it's a bit lowbrow and pointy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh,
More streamlined and fast. Yeah.
uh-huh.
So that's anything else? I think that's lots of dolphins and
I was gonna say
porpoises.
dolphins. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I love it. It always brightens up my day when I see them, and they
Uh-huh.
love playing with along our
In
boat,
this huh?
riding the bow wave. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just glorious. Yes,
So big schools of them. Is that what they
yes,
call a group of dolphin schools? Same as
yes.
fish? Yeah.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
different kinds. It's so
different kinds. Yeah,
yeah.
some more large and some small. The hectares are small than the common ones, blue nose or whatever you call them. They're big. They're quite big. Yeah, they're
The
fast.
porpoises. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fast. Yeah, and so agile. Mhm.
Wow. How fun. I missed
Yeah.
an opportunity one time. I used to be an open water competitive swimmer.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
swam in the ocean and I swam with a master's team down in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And we swam, like we'd swim to New Brighton Beach and then back down to Seacliff and Altos. And we usually did that on Sundays. And on a Saturday, one of the guys in my master's team called and said, "Hey, you want to go out today?" And he was quite a bit older than me. He was probably at that time, this was in my 20s. He was probably in his 60s. And I'm like, well, I can't go out, but don't go by yourself, Bob. Don't go by yourself. Call Mary or somebody to go with you.
Yeah.
Well, he went out there by himself and he was swimming. And he calls me when he gets home to tell me the story. And he said, I'm out there swimming and I felt something brush up against me.
Yeah.
And I popped my head up and I see all these people pointing out my way. And he was thinking, oh my gosh, is it a shark? He said, but it was warm. So I figured it probably wasn't a shark, but I should probably go in. And
Yeah.
so he did. He swam in. And when he got in, the people on the shore said 2 dolphins escorted you all the way in. So they were
Wow.
probably they may have been protecting him from a shark.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
missed it. I missed it because that's kind of was always my dream was to swim in the wild with dolphins.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
They seek out humans. I remember being in this bay, and one school came in and they performed. They performed from one boat to the next. They came from one
really?
boat, then oil bounding to ours. You can see it all coming, and then they
Uh-huh.
do their spin in the air. No,
Oh my
no
gosh.
other reason but to perform. And then after they did that, they went off to the next boat. Yeah,
Wow. That's amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But I've heard they're highly intelligent, right?
Yes,
So I'm
yes,
sure
yes,
they
yeah, yeah.
very
Very.
cool. Very cool. So tell me, how has it enriched your life? If there's anything else you can add, you've talked a little bit about how it makes you feel and what have you. So,
It's given me a whole new dimension of appreciation of nature, the marine environment. I've done the below because I scuba
yes.
dive. Right. So I scuba dive in quite cold, temperate as well as tropical reefs. So I've done a lot of that, but not above. I've never been fascinated with skiing. I was like going behind this motorized thingy and it's noisy and breathing and exhaust did not appeal to me, never, right?
Yeah.
Even though I had a friend who does that, nah, not interested. And this is just incredible. It's totally a whole new dimension. And exploring places that are not most people that can't get to because unless you have a boat. And the thing
Yeah.
is that cruising vessels, sailing boats, people are different from motorized boat people.
Yeah. Very
Motorized boat
different.
people they like the speed, they like fishing, they like game fishing, so they like partying. Whereas sailing people are more introverts and they want to get away. And
Yeah.
none other more than me and Kim. Me even more
Yeah.
than Kim, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Say that.
It's kind of a
Yeah,
solitary
yeah,
thing to do. I can see that. I can see that
yeah, yeah.
would be a
Yeah.
huge appeal.
Yeah. What I think was unique, I must add this, is that in the bays that we have found, even though they're like relatively popular destinations, but still there are people that are keen that will go there. But we've found bays that most people don't because they're not marked in the books. And it is the most serene. It's almost like the meridian point that I find on land with my feng shui. It's the meridian point, the energy point, the power site in the sea in the middle of a bay, surrounded by these incredible, mountains, and then one opening. And it's the most heavenly, peaceful place on earth.
Oh,
Yeah.
what an experience.
Yeah. And we've got some of our favorite marked. Yeah.
So let's move on to a little different topic here, which I find very fascinating. So you're also an entrepreneur, and in the beginning, I mentioned that Master Boon is um, an internationally renowned master of traditional Chinese feng shui. So tell us about that and how that's part of your life, and
Yeah.
also part of your entrepreneurship as well.
Yes. I am a traditional feng shui master from the original wisdom practice. And I stress that original and it's a wisdom as well as a practice. Okay? It is feng shui is rooted in a 5,000-year-old tradition, and it's more than just arranging furniture. It is originally was used to select and align powerful sites like palaces and spiritual centers at that high, really high level, so peace will rule the land, or reign over the land. So that was how it was originally used, and by aligning your palace or spiritual center on these powerful sites, you actually harness the beneficial energies. So it's actually both a science of analyzing subtle energies as well as powerful energies, and an art, because you need to know how to align yourself according to the knowledge. So it is a cumulative knowledge of 5,000 years. So it is a discipline unto itself. It's like a PhD. What I know is like a PhD. And it is all about harnessing beneficial energies and avoiding the harmful. And they surround us, they're all around us. It's just that most cultures don't have the way of seeing it through methodologies which we have. It's we use our calculation, our own mathematics. That's our own system of finding out where these energies lie and finding how strong they are, what qualities they are, and then how we can harness or avoid the negative ones. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and it affects all parts of our life, from our health to our wealth to our relationships, how we get on with other people, and those energies can manifest as argumentative legal disputes or the most harmonious mm, energies of relating with people. So it's incredible. I've seen it. I've I've grown up with it,
Uh-huh.
so, 7 decades of it in my life, and I've I've used it since a teen, and I went deep into the study with my father, who's the first, traditional grandmaster to bring feng shui out into the West 50 years ago. So, after my own career in the sciences and doing my thing, I want to come back to my heritage, and I asked to learn seriously from him. So he took me under his wing and taught me everything he knew. And I've been a practitioner since for 33 decades. Mm, that's by serendipity. I didn't intend to be a practitioner. I just wanted to
Oh,
study it for the sake of the knowledge and the wisdom. I love learning deep, profound knowledge. And so people realized that I was learning, and my father was Grandmaster Yap and asked me to consult. And that's how I got into it. So I was moonlighting while I was in my biomedical career
uh-huh. Wow.
all over the world. While I was in the States, I was in Europe, wherever. And they got to know, yeah, can you do this? Okay. So
Wow.
yeah, side
How
by side.
fascinating. How
Mm,
fascinating. So, tell us a little bit about your property that you have in New Zealand, that you sought out
yeah.
the perfect piece of property, built a beautiful, beautiful home and garden.
Yeah. I've since going deep into feng shui and seeing the benefits, tremendous effects and benefits it brings, and also seeing the the harm of badly built or bad feng shui energy homes. I basically saw to myself, given the chance, I'm going to build my perfect feng shui home. That's the only
Uh,
way. And so I've had that for a very, very long time, several decades. So when I was enticed to move across to New Zealand because of my husband, I already had my plot of land in this beautiful part of Melbourne by the sea, because this water is the most enriching, most powerful of the elements for wealth. Wealth in our tradition is everything good. To entice me across, he was quite happy to embrace my dream. So took me on this trip to look for this perfect piece of land. So when he first knew about feng shui was an interesting one, because he didn't know anything and I didn't put it onto him. We was just sailing along this coastline, and I remarked, "Wow." this is the land where the dragons play. And he said, what do you mean? So I explained to him, mountains are dragons, and
Uh-huh.
for us, the earth is alive, and trees are, have spirits. So, the dragons are these mountains and this incredible coastline. I think National Geographic readers have voted this the second most beautiful coastline in the world.
Wow.
And so when he got the explanation, he said, feng shui, whoa. And that's, I said, my dream of building in this most amazing, harmonious, and powerful land. Then he said, okay, let's look for it. So when we got back straight away from our trip, a 2-week holiday, we hardly landed back, in our
Mhm.
anchorage, and we're
Uh-huh.
on the jeep heading up north looking for and then scouring the papers, everything. So I had
Uh-huh.
my idea of how to orientate the home. So I was using Google Earth to look
Uh-huh.
at the geophysical lay of the land
Mhm.
and locate where it looks possible. Then we did the search in, through um, the real estate columns of land sections for sale. So we would have looked at 30, we would have walked 15, and for our plot of land, we actually bush bashed 6 times, once in a gale. And that was
Oh
when
my gosh.
we knew exact spot that was the power
Ah.
spot, because
Uh-huh.
they were so calm in this gale, worst gale that we had for years. We had this incredible calm spot. I knew this was it. So yeah, so we laid out the building line and I designed it according to feng shui, every inch. My husband,
Wow.
even though it was frustrating him at certain parts of the building, he said, "Right, okay, we will commit to building according to feng shui. We won't compromise, right?" And yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we did.
Wow.
We
So
built
you
this
got your
as
dream
close
home.
to perfect.
Yeah.
So every inch of this property looked at seriously, every measurement, and even my garden has been aligned according to feng shui, bringing in good energies along the path and taking out the stale energies and the water. I've built what we call a water dragon, which is the single most powerful feng shui formula in my front yard, which is this brook that I bring in most prosperous energies from particular direction, and then I take it out particular direction, and it wraps around the front of our home.
So you were featured on a TV show, Your Home. Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called Grand Designs New Zealand. That's the New Zealand one. It was the show actually originated this in the UK, and it's been running for a long time. I think definitely more than 10 years. Definitely. And the franchise came to New Zealand. New Zealand one is actually, I heard, is really popular around the world. So they sell the episodes. Every now and then I get inquiry from like Sweden. Okay. They've just seen our UK, they've just seen it. Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
So there's those episodes are still out there.
it's still out there because they still sell like seasons, like TV programs, reality programs. They have their seasons, and then usually around 6 episodes per season.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
we're on season 6, episode 4, and they named it the Feng Shui Palace. We were
Oh
so
wow.
embarrassed when we used it. It's not a palace, it's a home.
And it's so beautiful. I've seen pictures. I appreciate you sharing photos and videos of your property. It's just stunning. It really is. So, well, gosh, I so appreciate you coming on, Master Boon. It's been so interesting. I could listen to you for hours and for sharing your quote unquote RV experience with us. It's fun to hear something a little bit different than what we're all used to doing. And sailing is sounds like a pretty amazing experience, but also one that needs a whole lot of skill. Not something you just go out and try to do, maybe. Anyway.
I guess it's because we are more adventurous than most. We tend to go further out and we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We can play it
awesome.
safe and hug the coast as well.
That's true, huh? So tell us if someone is interested in learning more about feng shui or actually incorporating feng shui into their home or their business, what's the best way to reach you? And I will also make sure to put all this in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Well, I've got two websites. Masterboon.com is just about me.
Mhm.
The walk is fengshuiwithmasterboon.com is about my consultation. I
Okay.
haven't set up one for teaching yet, and I will because
Mhm.
teaching is a more because I taught for my father 25 years ago alongside him,
Mhm.
and then when he has stopped, it's because he was getting old and he wanted to do other things. So, but he made me promise on his dying breath that I would continue his legacy of passing on this knowledge. And he reminded me in a rainbow spirit. So I in this time of my life where I thought I could be retired and enjoying sailing and I'm not allowed to. That's why I'm an entrepreneur again. I got this race this time in feng shui,
Yeah.
basically to let the world know that this is a serious tradition and it's not to be actually played with because there are people
Yeah.
that get hurt when the practitioners don't know what they're doing with these
Yeah.
energy. And I have had to deal with um, people who got hurt from it and correct it. So it's passionate. It's a mission uh, of mine now to correct the misrepresentation and
Yes.
misunderstanding out there. So in both ways, I have started to teach, and I will get myself more known. I'm the best known secret.
Yes. You are.
I need to do something about that. So yeah, I don't. So
Yeah.
I can teach. So if you want to learn, I teach, and you don't need to be a practitioner. You can learn it for yourself. Look after your loved ones, your family. Know how to manage the energies around you for life. That's what I'm
Yes.
teaching, and I'm also ready to teach practitioners. Whoever wants to take this up seriously, and I need to get this knowledge out there. Yeah, and also I consult. If you prefer to fast track and get your energies all sorted out for you. I've been consulting professionally for 30 years. And my life, like 5 decades of it.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So your Facebook page though is one way that people who are interested in the
Yes,
learning part, they can visit
that's
your
right.
Facebook
Yeah,
page.
Facebook
Okay.
page. Yeah, I got Instagram, but my Facebook page is profile. The personal one is probably the most active. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I got my email. I've got my message me on Facebook. Yeah, it's very easy to reach me. You can Google Master
Okay.
Boon and you
I'll make
will
sure I
find.
have all that in the show notes for people who might be interested. And I have to say, I've taken Master Boon's 3-day class that, and it was only an hour and a half a day for 3 days, but oh my goodness, fascinating information. It was so interesting. I've always been fascinated with Eastern cultures anyway. Acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine is my first line of healthcare for myself since I was in my 20s. So I'm familiar with energies and of the body, but this is a whole different level and so much wisdom. It was just fascinating. So if it's something you're interested in, Master Boon's the person that you need to contact because
Yep,
he's truly,
definitely.
truly, yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Master Boon. I so appreciate your time. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Kathy. I appreciate yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to RV Advisors, All Things RV Podcast. Please join us again next week for more RV education, resources, adventures, and interesting people. Until then, wishing you amazing adventures, safe travels, and I hope to see you on the road.